Okay, we have the S15 up on the stands because yesterday I got an email that I wasn't expecting that the wheels are ready in Japan, so they are probably 2 to 6 days away from getting here, and there's a lot of suspension stuff we need to do this before the wheels are actually going to fit. So Bailey's helping me out. We are changing the spring rates because we need to stiffen them up, which is just so that to reduce rubbing, etc. when the new wider wheels are on. So it's got HSD coilovers in this thing with the standard spring rates in them, which are 7 kilo front and 5 rear. So I bought these. They are 10 kg rears and 12 fronts, so it's not crazy, but it's still almost double the stiffness that are in it now, so it should allow me to run the wheels I need. Yeah, so we're just pulling the suspension now and see if we can change these springs over. Okay, literally 2 brain cells later. That was painful. Coilover is out. We just struggled getting the brake line off. We tried getting the top hat off to pull the spring off top ways, but we just couldn't get it to come off. So after a while we decided to take all of the bottom collars off and go that way, which luckily these coilovers aren't too old and it seems to be the way to go. So this spring's about ready to pull off and we'll be chucking the 12 kg on. There we go. Bit of a mission, but the threads are actually good. And you can just see how much beefier the 12 kg is. 12 versus the 7. So it should give us the stiffness we need. This is the front left now, pulling it apart. We managed to get the front right all done. You can see the 12 kgs in there. And should swap the spring over for this one and chuck it back in. I don't know what I recorded, so it was a bit of a struggle, but the fronts are done. Just dropped it a little bit because like we just had to fully readjust them anyway, so it'll still need to go lower, I think, for the new wheels. But yep, we got 12 kg springs up front now, both sides, and I think I'm gonna start on the rears. Might have a little break, but don't have time to waste because I'm impatient and I'm gonna want to have these wheels on as soon as they get here. So let's get to the rears. Alright, it's getting dark out now. I had to have a break because it nearly killed me. We spent ages trying to get the top bolts out of from the bottom of the front struts because they're camber bolts, and for some reason they just did not want to come out, and even though it's really hard to get back in, so that's one of the reasons it took so long. But I'm going to start the back now. I just climbed inside and ripped this top partial shelf out, just unclips, so you can see the top of the coilover through there. Just 2 nuts, I think. And then it's literally just, yeah, I think it's just 2 nuts on the top and 1 big one on the bottom. So I'll jack the rear of the car up now and get these wheels off. Okay, wheel is off. So yeah, it's just that 1 big bolt on the bottom and the 2 on the top from the inside, and this coilover should come straight out. No brake lines or anything messy like the front. So much easier than the front. Don't even understand, can't explain it to you. But yeah, It's out. I don't think this looks right. Now it can move. This is all loose. I'm sure it's fine when there's some weight of the car, but I'm gonna set the preload on it properly when I chuck the new springs in. And yeah, I'm gonna keep the height the same for now because I don't want the rear sitting lower than the front. But yeah, hopefully this thread lets me pull all this apart easily. I'm going to give the clean spray with WD-40, and I got a brush just to make sure all the threads are clean and everything slides off nicely. The first rear strut is pulled apart. I'm going to give this top part of the thread a bit of a clean now that the spring is off, because look, this is the new 10 kilo for the rear. This is the standard 5, and it's actually like quite a bit shorter because it's the same length as the old front and the new front. Like all the springs I got were the same dimensions, they only had one size. So like the width and everything is the same though, so it shouldn't really matter. I'll just adjust the colours up obviously to suit. I've measured the bottom part for the ride height, so I put that all back together and then we should be good to go. If you can see through there, the thread goes to about there, so we're all good. And just do this hand tied up for now. Most of the adjustment is done on the car. The only thing I do is the ride height. So that's just the bottom piece of either the front or the rear coilover, doesn't matter. Put that back to the measured, what you measured earlier when you're pulling it apart, or wherever you want it to be, depending on how high you want your car. So I'm gonna put the rest on. But yeah, leave this hand tight for now. To adjust the preload, I actually just saw it on a YouTube video because I didn't know what to do. They recommend just doing it as tight as you can, just with your hand. And then when you put it on the car, you do this collar, just one notch up. It'll be a bit easier to explain with this second locking collar on. Okay, so you've got the one directly under the spring, as tight as you can by hand. You do this when it's installed on the car, by the way. And you just put the locking collar, just hand tight, up against it. And then you tighten the first one that's just under the spring up until you can fit that in the gap just between it. So pretty much just there's like the tiniest bit of pressure on the spring, so that's not going to move around at all when there's no weight on it. And then you just tighten your locking collar back up, and that's supposed to be your preload done. And then yeah, just your ride height adjustments at the bottom. Because I don't have a second person helping me right now, just put the bottom bolt on the coilover first, and because I shortened it a little bit as well, it doesn't reach, like the top bolt holes do not reach, like the threads don't go into the holes because it's too short. So I've just used a second jack I've got to lift up the suspension a little bit and just poke the holes enough through so that I can put the bolts on and then do it all up. Finally we got it done. Bailey came back to help. It's pitch black, but all of them are in. 10k springs in the rear, 12s in the fronts. Just got to chuck the wheels on now, and we're going to give it a little test to see how she feels. It's currently just after 11 o'clock at night. We just got back from a test drive. All is good. Rear is sitting pretty similar to how it was. Front's dropped a bit, but it's definitely going to go lower. But I'm going to wait for the tie rods, etc. to get here, and wheels didn't do the final adjustment then. So yeah, there we go.